things that in my experience, I think really set Stuhrling apart, and that is bringing the tourbillon to the everyman. You guys were the first company to ever do a tourbillon on television. You were the first one to break the $1,000 barrier. You were the first one to, and the only one to this date that's ever done a Swiss tourbillon on television. There's a lot of firsts for you guys as far as tourbillons go. So let's talk about the Devilray. I'm going to start out by talking about price here very quickly. You guys can, of course, see that on the graphic, and obviously you've been snapping this up, again, with a link to the right. All of the show content is presented right now. But here's the deal, guys, about the Devilray. The original retail, when this came out, this was not inexpensive. This is the one that it's bigger, it's heavier, it's presented, of course, on the genuine shark skin. The list, if memory serves, I want to say was almost $5,000 for this. I think it was $49.95, something like that. The point is, this is, to my knowledge, a record low price, and we really went to the mat on this. Mike and myself at several meetings. Bottom line, guys, $699 for a genuine mechanical tourbillon. Not a watch that looks like a tourbillon. This is a genuine mechanical, real, honest-to-goodness tourbillon, and shipping, by the way, is going to be included with this as well. Full manufacturer warranty. Larry, I think a good place to start on this, since we have the time, because it's our show and we'll do what we want. Let's educate, for those who are new to watches, what's the tourbillon and why is it such a big deal?
All right, Tim. So we're going to go there first, which I think is a good idea, because there may still be, some people out there that really don't know what a tourbillon is, and we always make the assumption that the people that we're getting all the time on the shows, everybody knows what a tourbillon is and what a great value it must be at that price. But I'll go there. The tourbillon movement was invented by Abraham Louis Breguet back in 1795, and he was regarded as one of the great watchmakers, of all time. I mean, there's a lot of them out there. He's not the only one, but he's certainly probably in the top 5. I mean, he's a legend. And of course, the Breguet company still exists today. And his concern was, why aren't my movements more accurate? And he was getting accuracy to within 15 to 20 seconds a day. And when you look at that, you think, my goodness, it hasn't really gotten any better. I mean, even the ETA 2824 today, they guarantee within 20 seconds a day. You have to get up to a certified chronometer to get within, plus 6 -2 or something like that, +4 -2. But even back then, of course, there were not wristwatches. The watches were pocket watches, and also the marine chronometers, which would sit, on a shelf in a boat. And so he was just really baffled and puzzled as why he couldn't get it to be right on the money. And so he concurred that it must be gravity that is throwing the timing of my movements off by 15 to 20 seconds a day. The fact that the watch is sitting in one position in the pocket, either the crown up or crown down, or crown left or crown right. And therefore, gravity constantly going down is changing up the, changing up the timing of the watch. So he thought, well, if only I could get the escapement and balance assembly to rotate continuously 360 degrees, that would negate the effect of gravity because it would balance itself out. But the question was, how do you do that? I mean, it sounds simple, but it's not, because you have to maintain contact with the drivetrain, in order to power the watch. But he did it, and it was a miracle. It was unbelievable. It was something he patented. He patented it in Paris, France in 1801, and he actually sold his first one in 1806. And I forget, who it was, but it was some, royalty, like a king or a prince or something like that, because, the price of these things was just outrageous back in those days. But again, it was related to pocket watches. Today, there's experts out there that will tell you that, well, Breguet's tourbillon doesn't mean anything anymore because, you're wearing wristwatches now. Shortly after the turn of the century in the early 1900s, probably around 1915, 1918, they started strapping the watches to the wrist. And once that happened, the whole concept of the gravity went out the window because you're moving your arm and hand all day long. And yet, even though, and there's some truth to that, I'm sure, but even though that's true, the tourbillon has reached levels of artisanship that have never been achieved before. I mean, every major Swiss brand worth their salt makes multiple versions of tourbillons. There's double tourbillons, triple tourbillons, spherical tourbillons, all of these different things. And they go for 50,000, 100,000, $250,000, $500,000, all the way up to $2 million for tourbillons. Okay. So it has become a form of craftsmanship because it's very hard to do. It takes the best watchmakers to balance it and do it properly. And it's like a symbol of elitism in the watch industry. Well, it's been that way for a long time. And many years ago, the Chinese set out to make a tourbillon movement and that's more affordable. And they started doing it in the mid 50s, actually. And now there are several companies out there making these tourbillon movements. And you can get them with 21,600 vibrations or 28,800 vibrations. The fact is, there's really only a couple of companies that do them right and know how to do them. And and we're on the cutting edge, Stuhrling, of the very top of that whole market. In other words, if it's a Swiss-made tourbillon, and we've done those, as you pointed out, Tim, we were the first company to bring a Swiss-made tourbillon on the air.
First and only, by the way.
Oh, yeah, to actually do a Swiss-made. That one was, I think we were doing it for $22,000 at the time, which was really cheap. Now it's $36,000. But nevertheless, if it's a Chinese-made tourbillon, I think the first one we did was about $5,000. This was back in about 2004 or maybe 2005. And then as things got more developed and better, we were able to break the $1,000 barrier. So there are probably somewhere around 40 to 50 different tourbillon movements out there that can be had fairly cheap. And so you see other companies buying those movements and putting out tourbillons, in the $1,000, $2,000 range, or even sub 1,000 even. But it's not the same as what Stuhrling does. And whenever you want me to talk about it, I want to tell, what distinguishes ours. And there's something that we did with the Devilray that really brings home my point as to what Stuhrling does.
No, please share it with us.
Well, what we do that's so different, and this is one of the reasons why the Devilray is one of my favorites of all of them. I mean, there are quite a few, we've done many, many different tourbillons by now, but this was one of my favorites. I'll tell you why, because what George does is we will buy these movements, these tourbillon movements, from the best movement maker in China, or the best two. Anyway, there's two that we buy from. But instead of buying a completed movement, we buy it in a semi-assembled condition, a pre-assembled condition, so it's not finalized. One of the things that is on a lower level with the Chinese tourbillons versus the Swiss-made, where they have issues, is with the mainspring and the hairsprings. Okay, it's just something that's very hard to duplicate. And so George will bring these in, and again, we're not outsourcing. A lot of companies who are doing Chinese tourbillons, they're outsourced goods. They get it off the rack. They have the movement put into the watch, and then they get the finished watch, and they have their logos slapped on it in 4 or 5 places. Okay, that's not what we're doing. George brings these movements in a semi-assembled condition. Now, by doing that, we also get them cheaper too, because they're not finished. Okay, and then we bring them to not our Hong Kong manufactory, but to our Swiss. Because George is a movement making company and has watchmakers that can do this, he has those movements brought to Bienne. That's where his factory is now. It's in Bienne. It was Bellinzona. Now it's back to Bienne. Okay. And there, the watchmakers will put in the hairsprings and the mainsprings and do the final assembly and the final calibrations in Switzerland. Okay. And then the final assembly on the watch. And then from Switzerland, they're shipped to New York. Okay. And that's why, like on the back of the watch, it'll say handcrafted in Switzerland. We can't say Swiss made because, as you know, Tim, the first criteria for a Swiss made watch is that the movement has to be Swiss made. It's a premium movement. It's not 21.6, but the premium movements are the ones that are 28.8, 28,800 vibrations per hour, which is 8 beats per second. Those are your premium movements. Okay. We will buy premium movements in a semi-assembled condition, bring them to Switzerland, do the final assembly there, the final calibrations, insert the hairsprings and the mainsprings there. So it'll say on the back of the watch, sometimes even on the front of the watch, it'll say individually handcrafted in Switzerland, or just handcrafted in Switzerland. That's what we're referring to. But we can't say Swiss made because the move. Now, if it was Swiss made, and as you've pointed out, Tim, we've done Swiss made.
Yeah.
The starting price is going to have to be, at a minimum, it's going to have to be $40,000.
Right.
Okay.
In steel, by the way, and then
right,
because you guys did it in steel, and you also did one in solid 18 karat gold back in the day.
Yes, we did. And we also did one in 18 karat rose gold too. solid. Okay. And it was, $36,000, but that was a long time ago. And there may be one or two of those that we've kept just for posterity. It was a flagship piece for us. But nevertheless, going back to what you're getting here, it's the best that you can get. And if you stop and think about it, I mean, really put your mind to it, okay? It almost doesn't even make sense to what we're doing. Why would you take a movement and then bring it to Switzerland and then have Swiss watchmakers do the final assembly?
Well, I would argue
doesn't
that
even
the
make
reason
sense.
you do that, Larry, is because you want a superior finished product.
Right. Exactly. 100%. Yes. So, you're what you're doing, Tim, is you're banking on the fact that there are going to be customers out there that don't want to spend the big money, but they want quality. Okay. And that's what separates Stuhrling. And I've been trying to tell this story for many years. That's what separates Stuhrling. Okay. It's not just a Chinese watch. You have to get it home to try it on, and you're going to be blown away. Now, I mentioned this watch in particular that really tells the story more than almost any other one. There's a few other examples, but what I like about this one, if you notice, Tim, you take a hard look at it, and I know we don't have that many of these left. Okay.
Yeah,
they're all limited. They're all limited edition. Okay. So they are numbered, but if you take a close look at it, Tim, you'll notice the top plate and the back plate on this movement is treated with black PVD. So you have the top plates with black physical vapor deposition and the back plate with black PVD, physical vapor deposition, which, first of all, it looks gorgeous. Okay, that's number one. And you might want to show them that, Tim. But that proves the point. It's easy to say, well, Larry's just saying this. He could be telling us anything that it's finished in Switzerland. How do we know? How do we know he's buying these in a pre-assembled condition? He could be lying to us. Well, let me tell you something, guys. You cannot put a finished movement and do PVD on it, okay? And they don't make them that way, okay? You have to put the top plate and the back plate. PVD is physical vapor deposition, and the way they put the layering on those on the case or on the bracelet or even on the top plate of a movement, it goes in a vacuum sealed chamber, and it's sprayed under intense heat. You can't put a tourbillon movement in a vacuum sealed chamber under intense heat. You have to plate the top plate and the back plate before it's assembled. Do you understand? Mm-hmm. And this piece shows that. And not only is it gorgeous, but it shows the story that this was final assembled in Switzerland by master watchmakers in Switzerland. Okay, and it'll say on the case back, I think it's reverse laser etched on the exhibition case back, it says handcrafted in Switzerland or individually handcrafted in Switzerland. Is it on there, Tim?
You'll see it when you get this home. Reverse laser etched, individually handcrafted in Switzerland. Now, again, right. And Larry, obviously, I think this is where you're going. This is $699. It's not $69,000. This is such an opportunity where you see that the forest that meets the expertise of Switzerland, thanks to George de von Berg, and going brand direct as we have, people are saving fortune. And by the way, I'm going to say it, this is a grail. This is one of the genuine grails to any watch collector, is owning a tourbillon. And to be part of the team that's able to put together this kind of a deal, this is really exciting for us. And again, as you're looking at this, guys, I'm sure you can see the obvious discount. If you need further help on the checkout with talkaboutwatches.com, at checkout, you'll have an option for PayPal credit. And if you qualify, you'll have 6 months of interest-free with nothing down. So there's huge flexibility when it comes to making this really affordable for you guys. Larry, final thoughts on this, and we'll wrap it up if we could.
Well, we didn't mention, of course, some of the other things on it. It's a 44 millimeter case size, so it's a nice in the middle size there. It's also got a genuine shark skin strap, which is different. It's really nice. I think the shark skin was a really good choice, and it's just a simple design, and it highlights what is supposed to highlight the tourbillon itself, the 360-degree rotation of the tourbillon.
And that's, Larry, it's such a great point, I think, to end on, because you're right. The focal point of this piece is the literal focal point. There's no detraction. It's the fact that you guys own the Grail, you own the tourbillon. Guys, we're going to wrap this up. I want to thank all of you who tuned in and made this event the success that it is. We're still watching the traffic here on the site, and it's going nuts. A quick wrap up. We showed you 3 today. The bridge, that list for $1,095. You guys are picking it up. They're all moving quick now. That's only $109 with shipping included. We showed you the Winchester Classic, I think for the money, one of the ultimate skeleton mechanical automatic dress watches. $12.95 down to $99, and of course we just wrapped up with it's the coup de grace. There's no doubt, man. This is the 44 millimeter Devilray, and it's available. If memory serves, I think the list is $4,995. You guys are picking it up for $699 shipping included.